What up, guys? It's me, Ronick, the best guy ever, and I'm glad to see you. Happy Wednesday. Anyways, I know the reason why you clicked on this episode. Either you're my parents, which thank you for watching, or you saw Reptilians might be real. Today I interviewed this guy named Drayke, who allowed me to hear his side of the theory on how reptilian people might be real. And it's actually really interesting, I feel. And even though I'm saying that, I do believe that. But one last thing I have to say before I get started, he does mention how the Alex Jones rant. So if you please don't comment about gender blah blah blah, like please just watch the video. Please. Anyways, hope you enjoy.
Hi, thanks for coming on my show. It's a pleasure meeting you. Thanks for telling me about your theory.
Of course.
Starting off though, could you tell me where did you come up with this idea that the lizard theory has been around for ages, but where did you come up with it?
Definitely a night of just smoking way too much weed years ago. And I was real big into conspiracy theories probably like 6-7 years ago. And it's not necessarily lizard people, it's more like reptilian race. And I kept learning about these other conspiracy theories, and they're all just they seemed odd, like reptiles hunting among us, aliens, young Earth Dryas, impact theory, climate change, hollow Earth theory, all these different theories. And then just one night in my brain was just like, I wonder if they're all connected. So I just started thinking about it, and I was like, if there's a possibility, there is that thread of possibilities that it could all be connected together.
You said they're more like reptilian creatures. What's the difference in your opinion?
I wouldn't call them lizards per se, because we have an understanding of what lizards look like. So how I would view it is they're reptilian in that they are close to what we would consider reptiles, but I think that there's something wholly different. So I don't really want to classify them as any specific thing that we are currently aware of.
They evolved from Earth, or what? Could you explain the evolution?
My theory on this, and again, I want to preface all of this. This is all just stuff I think of does not guide my life in any way. I think that they were some of the initial inhabitants of Earth. I think that they were a race of creatures that existed before humans did as a dominant life form. Because we have dinosaurs millions upon millions of years ago, and then the next, dominant life form was humans. We don't really have anything that really says what was in between that time.
So you think that they were kind of in between there?
Yes.
How long ago, if you had an idea, how long ago do you think it might have been? Like a million, two, how many years ago do you think?
I think it's hard for me to give a good date because I don't have any evidence for any of this stuff. It's more when they evolved and came into their own technology and civilization. My theory is that they went extinct around that time of the young Earth Dryas impact theory, where there was a monumental cataclysmic event that reshaped Earth roughly 12 to 13,000 years ago.
What kind of proof do you have? People might think you're crazy if they're just listening to this, without context. What kind of proof do you have?
Of their existence, very little. It's more of threads of different things. So the reason I settled on it could be possibly reptilian is that's one of the biggest things. Lizards people, they hide amongst us. They are who is in control of government. They are cloning these celebrities. That's a thing. Those are the conspiracy theories. I actually don't believe, but I do think that in all these things, there's always some kind of nugget of truth in there somewhere. I landed on it being reptilian race because of the cataclysmic event. They had evolved into a technology that humans don't understand. Again, I don't have any good evidence of why exactly they are reptilian. They could be mammalian for all I understand. One of the things that really just I thought of it being reptilian is that they have a different kind of skin than we do.
Like scaly or like hard or like how so?
Something more sensitive to our current atmosphere that would make it so that they're not capable of living on topside.
Do you think this is like this theory like that people have come up with like lizard people? Do you think it's kind of like rooted from ancient civilization, or do you think it's more like mythological?
I think it could be both. It could also be just due to a fear, the innate fear that humans have of reptiles. So, like, snakes are a good thing. Like, there's so many people that just have that innate fear of snakes. Same reason that they get innate fear of spiders or darkness. It's something unknown to them, and it could just be so. Like, we're just trying to apply a fear to something that's unknown.
There's also a theory that like there's something the way back that our ancestors had to fight, so that's why we're afraid of it. So maybe that could be it.
Possibly.
I think people are so interested in this theory.
Lizard people, I think that's just people like it because they don't want to believe that humans can be as cruel and awful as they are. I think it's just they're applying the lizard people to people that they just think are awful or terrible human beings that they're doing something that's shady and untrustworthy. Because it's hard to imagine that humans are the same thing across the board. Like we have Mother Teresa on one end of the spectrum, who is responsible for helping thousands of people. And then we have General Mao, who is responsible for genocide of over 50 million Chinese people.
Do you believe that like there are people among us that are lizard people?
I don't think if they were among us, they wouldn't be taking high positions of authority and sneaking in. I don't think they quite have that capability, more or less of just like being able to disguise themselves amongst the elite of the elite. If they're among us, they probably will be more something in the shadowy part of the world, in the shadow organizations that FDR warned about years ago. But I will say that there is a possibility that they are able to manipulate certain high profile individuals. Now, I don't think they bother with celebrities, more of people that have power and influence, not like overtake them, but influence them in certain ways. Uh, the biggest name I can think of would be Bill Gates. He's doing something real shady with all the farmland he's buying up and all the things he's doing. But could he be under the influence? Possibly. I don't think is a reptile, but I think he's doing something that does not align with human interest.
So it probably would just be only like just someone really rich or and powerful that could actually make something happen.
Possibly. I mean, there are secret and shady organizations that exist throughout the world that have a lot more influence than people even realize. And those shadow organizations have manipulated the masses for years. They're still continuing to do so to this very day through propaganda that has been well documented and researched and how you manipulate the human mind. So I don't think it'd be beyond reptilian race who wants to literally terraform the planet to use these shadowy organizations to make the earth more in their favor and more welcoming of them.
Going back, like, could you explain what the Young Dryas event is?
The Young Dryas impact theory theorized that was a cataclysmic event that erased civilizations prior to 12,000 ish years ago. After that event is when history kind of says, oh, this is when civilization started. This is when ancient pyramids were started to be created. This is when towns and cities were started to become created. Like that was the advent of like Egypt and the giant civilizations as we know it. Prior to that cataclysmic event, there were civilizations with really advanced technology, and that it was all buried and destroyed because of the cataclysmic event.
How do you think it reshaped how we could survive?
I think it made the Earth a lot more susceptible to solar radiation. I think, and with if it was an impact of some sort of like a giant meteorite, it most likely temporarily destroyed all of the uh, ways that they were producing agriculture, food, in order to live, because that would have created large dust particles in the atmosphere, which would have blocked off solar radiation temporarily, causing massive droughts, solar storms across the planet.
Do you think it reshaped the way a reptilian race?
Sort of. So
How so?
my theory on that is that because it changed up our atmosphere, their skin was no longer able to tolerate the current radiation from the sun. So that they had to flee underground, say to get off of the surface of the earth.
How long do you think like it affected their bodies like if before they can get underground, or do you think they knew beforehand?
I think they knew beforehand and they already had some underground civilizations and they built it far underneath the planet, like what we currently don't have the technology to access.
Do you theorize that there might like have they might have had buildings and like stuff under it, or do you think they might have built that over time?
Most likely, they were capable of going between their underground civilizations and top layer. And I think that they were able to create those civilizations using frequency technology that we're just starting now to understand. And I think that same frequency technology was what was used to create the pyramids.
Kind of going into like, have you ever? I don't know if you ever seen the show Inside Job, but like, and a bunch of people theorize also that the lizard people, shadow government, they're basically controlling the world, not the president, not the government, just the lizard people, and they're all taking over the government. Do you think they affect like the planet as we know it?
Yes. This, again, I don't have any evidence for this, but I think that the reptilian race is responsible for the rapid development of the human brain 200,000 years ago, and that we were created initially as a species to aid them. And when they were forced underground, we were kind of like left to our own devices, but we had access to the mental development that they had already bred us with.
So like we were bred to basically be servants to them, or like what are you saying?
Yes. So like I think humanity was created and designed similar to like what we've done to dogs. Like a pug didn't exist 20,000 years ago. We created that and it's an abomination to God right now. So I think that humans were selectively bred and possibly had their DNA altered to become hardier animals than the reptilian race, that we were used more for labor.
Talking about the burning and the fossil fuels you mentioned on the graph you showed, do you think that could go into like a hollow Earth, as you mentioned?
So I think they're trying to create an atmosphere that is more hospitable to them, and they're doing that by literally terraforming the planet with um, the burning of fossil fuel. And that's just stage one. I think it's their plan is taking centuries, if not millennia, to like fully go through. But climate change, again, it's always been a thing, but humans are kind of accelerating it to unknown degrees. Before fossil fuels, there's never been anything on the planet, as far as we're aware, that has been able to actively change the planet in such a scale that we've done. In order to survive, they need more of the light in order to survive up here. Hence why they're trying to weaken the atmosphere.
So they can get more powerful.
No, just so that they're able to live in this atmosphere. Not necessarily to power them, but because reptiles, again, they are cold-blooded. Yes. They need light in order to survive and warm their blood so that they can actually do things. I think that the reptilian race, they need a more powerful sun in order to survive topside.
What about technology? Do you think that they could have created like more powerful stuff than us, or do you think they're like that we're more smart, that we've evolved over time?
I think they created different technology. They took different technological paths than humans did.
What exactly do you think?
Frequency-based technology with the use of sound, and that you can kind of see in the Nazca lines, like how are they produced way back then? How are those giant monoliths created millennia ago? How were like the Great Pyramids or other large blocks carried from quarries hundreds, if not thousands of miles away, that were several thousand tons, when we still can't do that to this day.
The center hole of the Earth, like why we don't see them?
I don't know if they're that deep into the Earth's mantle. I think that they are underneath the ocean. Like where their cities are, it's below the ocean crusts. So we can't get to below the ocean. we've explored more of the moon than we have of the bottoms of our oceans. I think their technology was allow them to navigate underwater and manipulate space locally, allowing them to move without the feelings of pressure.
Why don't you think they'd like one of these days like come up on Earth?
I think they have. And on that one I sent you, I had a aliens question mark. I think we've been viewing their UFOs or UAPs or what they're called now. They're using technology that we do not understand, and they all seem to be across the coastline near oceans. It's difficult for us to pick them up on radar. We cannot fathom how they move. They move in ways that don't disturb the air around them, and we've seen them go straight into the water without even making a splash. I think they're capable of traversing our atmosphere in like whatever machinery it is, just like we cannot live in space, but we can travel throughout it using spaceships. They cannot live in our atmosphere, but they can travel throughout it using their ships.
What about the language? Like, language has evolved over time. Do you think they like created their own? Do you think like they might like, as you said, you think they've been among us? Do you think they might have copied us? Or like, how do you think the language, as far as that goes?
I think it goes back to frequency in that, again, what is sound? Our language is us manipulating sound waves with our tongues, with our fingers, with just different parts of our body. It's literally our vocal cords are manipulating sound in order for you to understand what I'm saying. So I think their ability of using frequency is what they developed as their language. And I don't think it's telepathy and that they're using their brain necessarily. I think they've most likely evolved with a way to manipulate sound waves with their brain, or maybe they have other orifices. Again, I've never encountered any of these creatures to give you any better understanding.
And I would say, if I sound dumb, I'm sorry. It's just kind of hard to, come up with questions with someone like you said you've never met them. So I just want to apologize if I sound dumb or whatever.
It's all good. Nothing to apologize for.
Just want to make sure.
This is a really wild theory. I've never heard anyone else talk about this, and this is connecting a whole lot of dots that really shouldn't be connected. But I have a weird brain, and I've smoked weed before.
Well, I'm not gonna blame you there. So, kind of sidetracking. Do you think it's like all? Do you think it's just lizard, like the lizard species, or like what about frogs? Or like are they all cold-blooded species? Do you think?
I don't believe so. So again, I don't know if they're going to be amphibious. I don't know if they're going to be more snake-like or look like iguanas or look like something I couldn't even imagine. They're going to be something that needed solar radiation in order to survive amongst us, and they were able to develop that technology and harness it underground. And my best bet is that they couldn't bring it above the atmosphere because it could possibly destroy the atmosphere. Having something that is able to produce that kind of energy could possibly set ablaze like different particles in the atmosphere. So they're trying to literally terraform the planet to their liking, so that way they don't destroy it if they were to try and live on Earth.
Theoretically, let's say the lizard people. Lizard people did come back up one of these days. Like they said, here we are. How do you think the world would react? Because do you think they would make us their animals again? Do you think what do you think that whole process would be?
10 years ago, I think the whole world would have been up in arms and it would have been hysteria. I think if it was today, people would be like, all right, it's another Tuesday.
They already said aliens do exist, so and here we are, nobody's freaking out.
Yeah, the U.S. government came out and said, yeah, aliens exist, and everyone was like, all right, cool. I got bills to pay. What am I supposed to do with that info? Yeah, I don't think it'd be a huge thing unless they tried doing something that could be a threat to us. It was like, hey guys, we've been living underneath you for the past 10,000 years. What's up? Everyone would be like, hey guys, hi, I guess. We got our own shit going on, so just, head back to whatever you're doing.
Label in it says, turning frogs gay. What? Can you explain that to me?
It's always a fun one because I love that one because of Alex Jones. Just hilarious individual. So he had that big rant years ago saying that there's chemicals in the water that are turning the freaking frogs gay.
If you're a new listener, just type in Pentagon tested gay bomb on Iraq. They didn't consider using it. They've used it on our troops. In Vietnam, they'd spray PCP on the troops, Jacob's Ladder. You think PCP, some horse tranquilizer, something? They got stuff that'll whack your brain permanently. Brain chips in the troops. They give the troops special vaccines that are really nanotech that already re-engineer their brains. Now, there it is, the gay bomb. Look it up for yourself. I mean, this is what do you think tap water is? It's a gay bomb, baby. And I'm not saying people didn't naturally have homosexual feelings. I'm not even getting into it, quite frankly. I mean, give me a break. You think I am like, shocked by it, so I'm up here bashing it because I don't like gay people? I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Serious crap. I'm sick of being social engineered. It's not funny.
Again, conspiracy theory. Everyone's like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Turns out, wasn't it conspiracy theory? It was atrazine being put into the water that, as a byproduct, that was literally turning frogs into other genders. It was causing hermaphrodites. It was genetically altering these amphibians. Was it an accident that we were putting these chemicals in the water that was literally altering the very genetic makeup of these animals? That's, as you were talking about earlier, like, why not frogs? Why not lizards? Why did I specify like reptilian? What if they were trying to do genetic engineering on a species of animal a species of reptile that already lives above ground in order to figure out a way to make their own bodies stronger, more resilient to our own atmosphere? And again, this goes back to why I think it is most likely a reptilian race. They were trying to alter one that already lived on the surface as a test subject. It's like, hey, what would happen if we introduce this chemical to this large population of frogs? How would their body react? So it's a large-scale experimentation, so that way they could see how it would react on the frogs and see what possible side effects it could have on them. Similar to what we do to mice.
What do we do to mice?
We run all kinds of experiments on that. We've put them in drowning simulations. Every research chemical has been put through FDA trials, has been injected in some kind of mouse. We just subject them to all kinds of experimentation. And we do that to mice because they're mammals, we're mammals, and we share some DNA with them. I would say maybe the frogs are to them what mice are to us.
And this is more just a thing I'm curious about. That maybe it was just a TikTok thing made up, but I heard that there was a guy who killed one of his children because, and I quote,
in 2021, 40-year-old Matthew Coleman took the lives of his two children because he believed that they had serpent DNA and needed to unalive them to save the world.
Do you think he was in the right, or do you think he was just nuts?
I think he probably smoked meth. I've known meth heads. That sounds like a meth head to me. That sounds like someone who's been high on meth for 4 days straight would say.
Well, it was great having you. That was pretty much all my questions. Thanks for telling your crazy theory to me.
Oh, it's a very wild and crazy theory. Again, it's just something I just came up with years ago when I used to smoke weed, and I was like, man, all these threads could be put together if you just link them all to reptiles. Again, I know it's wild. Like, I've talked about this on one other podcast, but it's not like a conspiracy theory that I'm super open on, that I'm just like shouting from the rooftops. Because even if the entire thing is completely true, that's fine. It's just another Monday.
How long ago was this theory born?
Maybe about 3 years ago. Yeah, I started learning more. I was listening to Graham Hancock talk about the Young Dryas impact theory, and then I started learning about the TikToks, the aliens, and how that the UFOs that were able to move at hypersonic speeds that we can't even fathom, go through the water, and then learn about how the ancient pyramids were crafted using frequency technology that has not been able to be replicated to this day. So it's really just, I was like, what if they're not all separate incidences? What if there's all one central unifying part of this?
And I don't know, who knows? Maybe in 100 years, this will actually be a thing.
Yeah, 100 years is to be like, oh yeah, they were talking about this a while ago. They knew.
My grandpa wasn't crazy.
They'll still say that about me, but that's okay. I've
Eh.
accepted it.
You have 15 seconds to share a company, website, just anything you want to share out. And you go now.
All right, you can check out my podcast, Get Great Health, where I talk about everything health and wellness. You can check out my coaching business, Biohacked Health, where I work with a doctor team and we help people optimize their hormones, use peptide therapies, and other research chemicals.